So this is kind of a loaded question that would take far more than 3 minutes to talk about, but I did a podcast episode on it if you want to go listen to it. There's one about my dad's cancer story, and there's one about my daughter's birth story that goes into all those details. But there is one part of the story that I forgot to mention in that podcast episode, so I'll tell you about that. When I was 37 or 38 weeks pregnant with my daughter, I went in for my final ultrasound to make sure that she was, in the right position and everything, and we found out that she was breech. She was folded in half, completely butt first in the chute, and she had already dropped some, and so she was kind of like suctioned in there. And my doctor says, basically, you have one of two options. You can either schedule a C-section, or you can schedule a version where we will try to manually turn her. But she said, if you want to schedule the version, we need to do that and get you on the books today because we don't have a lot of time left. So I allowed her to schedule the version, thinking I can always call and cancel it if I change my mind. What the doctor did not realize is that my sister-in-law is a birth coach who went through training on a lot of natural birthing methods. And whenever I set my mind to something, I'm usually pretty chill. But if I set my mind to something, I have the determination of a freight train. So I went straight from that doctor's appointment to my sister-in-law's house. I got on their inversion table and hung upside down for about 5 minutes. And my daughter literally suction cupped right out of my hips. From that point, I was able to do some of the exercises that my sister-in-law showed me and get her turned down into the head down position. So she was ready to be born. So that was on a weekend, and my version was scheduled for a Monday. I couldn't call my doctor's office because they were closed. So on Monday morning, I tried calling the hospital and I told them, hey, I don't need the version anymore. I was able to get my daughter turned. I just need an ultrasound to confirm that she's in the correct position. They say, well, you'll have to come up to the hospital anyway. We'll talk to the nurses and see what we can do. When I get to the hospital, they tell me we have to admit you because it's protocol. And I said, you have to admit me to the hospital in order for me to get an ultrasound to prove that I turned my baby? They said yes. And so I was like, okay. Nurse and ultrasound technician come in and say, manage your expectations because it's not really possible for you to have turned her. And I said, okay. They do the ultrasound, and what do you know? She's in the head down position, ready to be born. I spent $400 to prove a point, and it was worth it.